Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is guide for Barcelona-Catalunya GP with the Subaru WRX Gr. Let's get this started. As you're about to start your new lap, just try to carefully go through the final chicane as you want to make sure you try to get a good exit so you can get a pretty fast start to your new lap. The Subaru WRX is being used as it's a good handling car and it is also good on the tire wear during the race. Brake balance is a -1 and we're on the racing soft tires. Your first braking point is this light that is on the left, so once you reach it, you want to brake hard for a short while and gently ease off of the brakes as you turn in. Gradually start to accelerate to build up a bit more speed, bring yourself towards the middle and then ease off of the throttle as you turn in. Once your car is pointing towards this barrier on the other side of the track, that is when you should start to fully accelerate. Bring yourself towards the left and brake before you reach this line that is on the left before you go under the bridge. Brake hard for a short moment and slowly ease off of the brakes as you turn in. Gradually get on the throttle, and by the time you're pointing towards this sign, you should be at full throttle. Gradually bring yourself towards the right and brake before the wall on the left ends. Brake hard for a short while and take your time turning in, easing off the brakes, and going down the gears. Carefully get on the throttle as it's pretty easy to spin out. And for this turn, you want to brake just as the curb on the right starts, so where the pointy end is. So this is exactly where I start to brake. Brake hard for a short moment, quickly ease off of the brakes, taking advantage of the curbs. And when the curb on the left ends, that is where you start to turn in and lift off of the throttle. If needed, you can use just a tiny bit of braking to fine-tune the car. Bring yourself towards the right, look for the digital flag that is on the right as you want to brake just before you pass it. Brake as much as you can in a straight line, ease off of the brakes as you turn in and carefully get on the throttle. Take advantage of the red and white curbs, and just as you start to turn in, use some of your braking power to bring yourself towards the inside of the turn. Take your time, slowly starting to accelerate, brake before the curb on the left ends, so brake right around here, brake hard for a short moment, quickly ease off of the brakes as you turn in, and for the final chicane, brake just before you go under the Gran Turismo Sports sign. You want to bring yourself over the sausage curve, so you need to do a lot of braking and throttle control. Nice and easy on the throttle so the car doesn't start to step out too much, and once the car is stabilized, you can start to fully accelerate through the final turn. But that's all for the lap guide. Let's go ahead and take a look at the strategies, which is starting now. So for the race, we are doing 10 laps at Barcelona-Catalunya GP with the Group 3 cars. Fuel is a ×2, so fuel is not an issue at all, so don't worry about having to fuel save. Tire wear is a ×8, which means that tire wear is going to be a pretty big problem. The tires provided are the racing soft and medium tires, and both tires are required for this race, so you do need to use both tire compounds so you don't get a 1-minute penalty after the race ends. So with the tire wear at ×7, your soft and medium tires are going to wear out pretty fast. So by the time you're already, let's say, 4 laps in, you're going to notice that there's quite a bit of tire wear on your car, and you're going to want to start to think about when to pit. So in terms of the racing soft tires, they'll last around 5 laps, so for the most part you're pretty much going to want to pit halfway into the race. So if you're starting towards the front, you can start on the racing soft tires and pit at the end of lap 5. If you're starting towards the middle or the back of the pack, start on the racing medium tires and pretty much go 5 laps with the medium tires as well. So when you go to the pit stop, you're pretty much going to be switching over to the tires that you haven't used yet. So skipping on over to the end of lap 5, tire wear is pretty noticeable your times are going to be dropping off like crazy, and that applies to both the soft and medium tires. So halfway into the race, end of lap 5, pit on over, switch to the tires that you haven't used yet. And you can see that I was struggling with the tire wear, the Mitsubishi is struggling with the tire wear, so the tire wear, it's going to be a pretty big struggle for everyone. If you're in a car that is pretty good on the tires, like the Subaru WRX, the Porsche 911 RSR, or the Peugeot RCZ, they're better on the tires, so things will be a bit more bearable. And yeah, we're just going to go on over to the pit stop. Feel not an issue, we're only going in for a tire change. The pit loss for this combination is a little under 26 seconds, so around 25.5 to 25.8 seconds. That is your pit loss. And with this pit loss being pretty big, you only want to pit once and changing over to the tires that you haven't used yet. So if you started on the soft tires, pit on over and change to the medium tires. If you started on the medium tires, switch on over to the soft tires. And in terms of go-to cars, there isn't exactly a go-to car, as there's a lot of cars that are being used for this race, and a lot of different cars are performing pretty well. So this is going to be a bit more of run whatever car you're comfortable with. Just keep an eye on the tire wear, adjust your brake balance as necessary to try to keep your tires lasting as long as possible. And let's go ahead and go on over to places to overtake and the penalty serving zone. So the main street that is coming up is going to be one of the best, if not the best place to try to get the overtake done, especially if the car in front got a really bad exit through the final chicane. So the Mitsubishi in front, they got a pretty bad exit, and with the slipstream, I can try to go for the overtake, but do be aware that it is also pretty easy to defend. So if they start to defend, they're going to make life a bit harder for you. You pretty much want to try to get the inside line because you don't want to try to go for an outside overtake, because I tried to do that. I ended up on the green stuff, and that pretty much made my car a bit unstable, so I had to back out of that. After that, a lot of these places, they're going to be very situational. So for example, this part over here, very situational, but you can see some overtakes happen, especially if the car in front got a bad exit. From here, you pretty much want to be in a single file line because you want to hold on until you reach the back straight, which is also where the only penalty serving zone is. So this part over here will be your final place to get the overtake done, and then here's the penalty serving zone. So once again, with the hairpin coming up, this is your last place to try to get an overtake done. Try to go side by side and get the inside line, because after that it's pretty much a single file line unless if the car in front messes up big time, which is not going to happen that often. And that is pretty much it for this guide. This is a pretty straightforward one-stop race where you need to use both the racing soft and medium tires, pit halfway into the race, so at the end of lap 5, to switch on over to the tires that you haven't used yet. But that's all from me. Apologies for putting these guides out so late, as I had some things I had to do in real life, so I couldn't get to these guides right away. But that's all from me. This is Mr. MCA, wishing you a good race and a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.